Hello, my name is Frank Christensen and I'm the coordinator of officials for IFAF in Europe. This is the 6th of 7 training tapes dealing with targeting. And today we're looking at hits on sliding quarterbacks. So we'll talk about, what is too much for just a late hit on the quarterback and how does it rise to the level of targeting and how can we recognize these fouls. But before we get to the game film, let's have a look to see what the rulebook and the MoFo have to say on this topic.
In the rulebook, we go to definitions in 2:27:14. A defenseless player is one who, because of his physical position and focus of concentration, is especially vulnerable to injury. When in question, a player is defenseless. Examples of defenseless players include, but are not limited to: A player in the act of or just after throwing a pass. B, a receiver attempting to catch a forward pass or in position to receive a backward pass, or one who has completed a catch and has not had time to protect himself or has not clearly become a ball carrier. C, a kicker in the act of or just after kicking a ball or during the kick or the return. D, a kick returner attempting to catch or recover a kick, or one who has completed a catch or recovery and has not had time to protect himself or has not clearly become a ball carrier. E, a player on the ground. F, a player obviously out of the play. G, a player who receives a blindside block. H, a ball carrier already in the grasp of an opponent and whose forward progress has been stopped. I, quarterback anytime after change of possession. And finally, J, which is also the focus of this training tape, ball carrier who has obviously given himself up and is sliding feet first. Rule 235 goes on to define targeting. It says, targeting means that a player takes aim at an opponent for purposes of attacking with forcible contact that goes beyond making a legal tackle or legal block or playing the ball. Some indicators of targeting include, but are not limited to: A launch, a player leaving his feet to attack an opponent by an upward and forward thrust of the body to make forcible contact in the head or neck area. B, a crouch followed by an upward and forward thrust to attack with forcible contact at the head or neck area, even though one or both feet are still on the ground. C, leading with helmet, shoulder, forearm, fist, hand, or elbow to attack with forcible contact at the head or neck area. And D, lowering the head before attacking by initiating forcible contact with the crown of the helmet. In Rule 913, crown of the helmet is defined. No player shall target and make forcible contact against an opponent with the crown of his helmet. The crown of the helmet is the portion of the helmet above the level of the top of the face mask. This foul requires that there be at least one indicator of targeting. When in question, it is a foul. And 914 says, no player shall target and make forcible contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless opponent with the helmet, forearm, hand, fist, elbow, or shoulder. This foul requires that there be at least one indicator of targeting. When in question, it is a foul. In the MoFo, we go to penalty administration in the points of emphasis. 131E says, if your flag is for targeting, you must have direct verbal communication with at least one other official prior to reporting the foul to the referee. And we finish off in penalty administration under calling fouls. 1911 number 8 says, if your flag is for targeting, you must have direct verbal communication with at least one other official prior to reporting the foul to the referee. Rarely does targeting occur when there are not multiple views of the action. Because the penalty involves mandatory disqualification, we require this communication to reduce the risk of an incorrect call. And that was the book. Now let's have a look at some game film. Of course, we're looking at the quarterback here, and I can already say that yes, he is going to slide, and then he's going to get hit. So let's have a look at what we're looking for. Obviously, once he slides, he becomes the defenseless player. So that's check number one. Then we've got, if we're looking for a category, actually this diving to the ground to hit somebody is considered a launch. So we have the launch, so that's check number one. Now we just have to see if we have any high contact, and certainly the wing thinks so, and the referee ends up agreeing with him. But let's have a look at the end zone shot where we'll get a better angle at the hit. From the end zone shot, obviously he's going to run to his right before he slides, and I think we can support this call right there. It certainly looks like it's an unnecessary hit, and certainly looks like he gets him up high with forcible contact to the head or neck area. And when in doubt on these, we are going to err on the side of safety and protect these quarterbacks. So this is certainly supportable as a targeting. This next example is somewhat the same and yet different. While the previous one, you certainly could argue that the hit itself was also late, and then you put the targeting on top of it. Here, the hit in itself is not really that late. It's more the type of hit that we're looking for. And now that we've seen what's going on, the safety is going to come in over the top. We'll have a look at the end zone shot where A70 is not in the way and shielding out what we're looking for. And from the end zone, we get a much better unobstructed view of the hit. And again, we're looking for defenseless player, which the quarterback certainly is. Then we're looking for an indicator, which right there, I think you can certainly argue that he's, you could either argue that he's leading with the helmet. You can also, at least argue that he's going to the ground. So either way, you have an indicator, and right there, I think it's fairly obvious that we have either with the arm or the shoulder, we have forcible contact to the head and neck area of this quarterback. So again, this is a correct call and a good one to get, because we are trying to protect these quarterbacks as much as we can. While the two previous plays showed fouls, these next two plays show legal action, and we'll talk about why. So here we've got, it certainly looks violent, but we don't really have a slide as such. It's not an intentional slide anyway. So he doesn't get his defenseless player protection the same way. And if you look at the defender, there may be a slight, beginning of lowering the helmet, but once the hit happens, it's really just his chest. So we don't really have the defenseless player, and we don't really have an indicator. So even though this looks bad, this flag that was initially thrown was correctly waved off and also supported afterwards. So legal play. This last play is also going to be legal action, but just barely, and let's have a look at why. So we certainly have right here a sliding quarterback, so he is the defenseless. We also have right there a defender coming in, leading with his helmet, so that certainly is the indicator. However, if we look at the hit itself, it just isn't forcible enough for a foul. So we've got 2 out of 3, but again, that's not enough for a flag. So I think this is a good no call. I would, however, recommend that we talk to this player, either to the player himself or his coach, to let him know that if he continues to come in with his head like that, he's going to, injure himself or hurt his team by getting a foul called on him eventually. But again, only 2 out of 3 is not enough for a flag, so this is a good no call. And that was this training tape. I hope it made sense, and I hope you found something you can use on the field.